Yeah, I remember when the LG G5 came out. They were so proud of themselves because they were keeping the removable battery. And they were kind of going with that module gag of having things you could slide out and slide in, add functionality to your phone, remove the battery when you want to, because some people out there, of course, still want that. And we're brave and we're going to cater to the old-fashioned way of doing things because that's the way we believe it should be. And LG G5 sold terribly. Didn't do that well. I'm sure somebody bought it, but yeah, LG took kind of a nosedive there. It was clear that wasn't as important to people. So at this keynote, they were definitely emphasizing that usability is more important than just focusing on specs, which is funny. It's like someone has been thinking that all these years. Some other tech company, you may have heard of it, but I can't think of the name right now. But it's something. You'll remind me. They're focusing now on making sure the phone is a good phone. It's a phone that people want to use and it looks beautiful and it just helps us get through the day in the most efficient way possible. So basically, the LG G5 taught LG that if you don't make an iPhone, your phone's not gonna sell. I'm sorry. This was mean. This isn't fair to me. I gotta be honest. I'm really kind of hyped about the G6. It's cool. And yes, that Like a G6 song is stuck in my head the whole time I'm reading about it. But hey, I have to give them credit for being original. This is the first phone in quite a while, first flagship phone that is, to embrace a new aspect ratio that's not 16:9. That's what most phones are. That's what TV shows are shot on. And most flagship smartphones adapt to this ratio because I guess that's what we've settled with. But LG thought of something new, which I applaud them for, which is they wanted a bigger display, but they didn't want a giant-sized phone. They wanted things to be even smaller. Making tech smaller, I like these guys. So they adapted an 18:9 ratio, which if you know how to do the maths, that's 2:1, which means the display is twice as high as it is wide. And this, of course, adds functionality to a lot of in-app functions that we previously didn't have, as in when you're taking a picture, you can have a preview of photos you've just taken instead of just putting them in the bottom corner. Or if you want to match up shots, you can have half of the display be one photo as you're taking a different picture, because that display, of course, can be cut directly in half and be just two squares on top of each other. I also like this because if you're going to have on-screen navigation buttons on Android, it's really nice to actually have reserved space for them so they don't actually like intrude on part of the operating system and just make this giant black bar like another phone I may know about. That's nice, and it's going to be really cool to see that breathing room. And of course, the LG G6 has some very 2017 features that I hope are going to become standards this year on smartphones, one of which being IP68 water resistance. That's great. Who doesn't want that? You can take this thing in your shower, go swimming with it, it can take it. A dual camera, which is even improved from the last year's model, because last year there was a dual camera, but the wide angle version didn't have as many megapixels as the medium version. This time we've got two cameras that are both 13 megapixels, which bizarrely is actually a down step from last year's. They actually had more megapixels before, but I'm sure they worked on the HDR mode and stuff, so it's gonna look great, I get it. But I just really hope that this year when we're doing dual cameras, we can perfect them by making sure that both cameras have the same megapixel rating. That way when you're zooming in or getting that wide shot, you're not losing any quality. Internal specs are pretty standard. It has the same processor as the Google Pixel, which means in terms of speed, they didn't really prioritize that, but hey, I applaud them for that. Most users don't really care about how fast the processor is. They want to make sure the phone is functional and easy to use. They're prioritizing and they're doing a good job at it. In the US and Europe, there's only a 32 gigabyte option. In other parts of the world, you can get 64, and I thought that was bizarre, but at least they do include a micro SD card slot, so that can be expanded. And as they always say on the website, it's up to 2 terabytes, because you can put a 2 terabyte micro SD card in your phone. No one does that. They just don't. I've yet to meet one person or read anyone in our comments that say I have 2 terabytes in my phone. If you're there, I'm impressed. You're willing to spend a lot of money on storage. A lot of money on something that small, but it's an option, and that's great. An option you don't get with this guy. I'm glad it's there. The back of it is Gorilla Glass 5, which looks really nice. They're going for their own jet black, which is cool. Another standard I wish everyone would adopt is USB-C. Thank you. But they also adopted the headphone jack, so I just... Get out. Yo, go. No! I hate you now! I can't blame them. Every time they're competing with the iPhone, they can say, hey, your old headphones still work with this guy. So, same thing Samsung's gonna do. I can't blame you for that. A lot of you out there really love that feature, so hey, there you go. Of course, I'm very proud of a company taking initiative and changing direction like this, but I do think that since they're not a major flagship developer, I get they're pretty big, but they're kind of behind in terms of the two big guys, Apple, Samsung, the Pixel's there. Third parties are gonna have a little bit of a nightmare adopting to this slightly different aspect ratio. because I feel like a lot of developers are going to be like, Jason, is our app still working on the G6? Todd, it's fine. Yeah, we have to stretch it out a little bit, but it's kind of working, I guess. Well, as long as it's close enough, I guess we don't have to worry about it. And then you might get a few apps that look really awkward at the top and bottom. Hopefully when third parties don't optimize for the G6, they'll default leave some extra room for the nav bar and all those notification widgets at the top. I hope the third parties don't have a hard time adjusting to that, because every time you change the aspect ratio of a display, things get a little confusing, but it probably won't be that bad. Now, I do think it's a very noble way to head this company if they really want to compete with Samsung, but I somehow kind of doubt they're going to be able to face off against the S8 and later iPhone 8. This is just kind of an awkward time to release a smartphone. Not sure if I should be comparing it to last year's smartphones or this year's. I guess they are first out of the gate, so. And the other big thing is we don't know how much it is, and we're not actually sure when it's coming out either. So once we have a price, maybe if it's cheaper than usual, we could actually have some competition with the S8, but if it's the same price, then no. I think it's brave of them. It's the direction I would ask them to go in, but I don't think this can save them from the monster that is the Galaxy S8, which is apparently going to do really well because it's got those edge-to-edge bezels, keeping the headphone jack. It'll have the faster processor. I think that's going to steal the show in terms of Android this year. But of course, I could be wrong. What do you think of the LG G6? Let me know in the comments below. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.